Hello everyone, welcome to Angular Mentor. In this video, I am going to talk about Angular 9 and the new rendering engine IVY, and you can say IV. Angular 9 is a major release that spans the entire platform including the framework, Angular material and the CLI that empowers developers to build better applications. With the version 9 release of Angular, the new compiler and runtime instructions are used by default instead of the old compiler and runtime known as View Engine. IV is the code name for Angular's next generation compilation and rendering pipeline. So, what exactly IV is? Is this coding or any tool? No. You shouldn't notice any changes other than the better build process. All of the heavy lifting will be done in the background, totally transparent to the developer. What does that mean though? In simple words, Angular's view engine takes the template and components we have written and translates them into a regular HTML and JavaScript that browser can read and display. This means, for example, that your template variables and data bindings get rendered to the page with the correct data. First, there was original compiler, which was not referred to as View Engine. Then, for version 4, the team introduced the View Engine, referred to as Renderer 2. IV is the next incrementer that is smaller, faster, and simpler. That does not applies only to the bundle sizes but also to the compilation process. This is mainly due to two key concepts, locality and tree shaking. So let's take a closer look at these two concepts. Locality. Locality means that IV compiles one file at a time. It only looks at a component and its template, not its dependencies when generating the output. Compiling one file at a time will mean smaller sets of instructions and will also mean we will be able to do incremental builds. And that Renderer 2 was unable to do. Locality translates into several benefits. In addition to faster compilation and the lack of meta.json step, this simplified process means that library creators will be able to ship AOT ahead of time compile code through NPM. Essentially, we will have an equivalence between AOT and JIT, that is just in time. That's a great news for developers. Tree shaking. Ivy has been designed from the start with the tree shaking in mind. Tree shaking means removing unused pieces of your code, which results in smaller bundle and faster load times. Tree shaking is done using static analysis, which doesn't actually run your code. Because of this, it must take into account all possible scenarios and include anything that might be needed in the bundle. For example, if you have imported a function but hidden it behind a false condition, that function will still get included in the bundle, even though it's never called. Ivy has been designed with this in mind. And the benefits are that results in smaller bundles and faster load times. AOT compilation with Ivy is faster and should be used by default. In Angular.json workspace configuration file, set the default building options for your project to always use AOT compilation. In Angular.json file, you can set AOT as true. So, what else? There are many benefits or features of Angular 9. Some of them are: when we combine locality and tree shaking, we end up with reducing the bundle size. That will give faster rebuild times. Lazy loading. Lazy loading component enables great possibilities to optimize our application further when it comes to the performance. Easy debugging with Ivy. So you will be no longer have to deal with cryptic error messages when something is broken in your template syntax. You will see the exact line number where something is wrong. You will even be able to set breakpoints in your templates to debug them. If you are like me, that's a huge sigh of relief. High order components. High order components is a function which gets a component and returns a component but also affecting the component in between. There are much more features in Angular 9. That was a brief introduction of Ivy. If you don't want to use Ivy in your project, you can go to tsconfig.app.json file and can set enable Ivy to false. And you can set AOT also false in angular.json file. Normally, the render doesn't affect day-to-day development much. But when it comes to performance, one expects their application's bundle size to be smaller, faster, and simpler. Angular Ivy is a next-generation compilation and rendering pipeline which reduces the bundle size, loads faster in slower networks, and is simple to use. I hope now you have a clear idea what Ivy is. You can ask your queries in the comments. Thanks everyone. Please like and subscribe Angular Mentor.